funny is my natural default setting. What I'm actually talking about is something I've been doing. And as I've been sitting in the last year, and I've been sitting here sort of trying to formulate my way around it, because more than the other speakers today who are talking in really wonderful terms about the bigger picture, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the smaller picture of what I'm doing, because I haven't quite worked it out yet. But basically, I've been working with people with dementia and teaching them comedy, and I found out that dementia is actually really funny. There's a lot. Oh, there were pens. Thank you. Oh, that'd be lovely. Oh, look at this bloke. He's lovely, isn't it? There is something sort of funny about the dementia, and you'll be surprised how many of you are going to have it one day. It's full on. I think something by 2030, it's going to be the leading cause of death and disablement for old. Isn't that a cheery little subject? And now I think there's going to be about 200 million people, I'd say, by 2030, which is a 150% increase from now. So it is one of those, it's an uncomfortable kind of subject. Most people have someone in their family that has dementia, or they've experienced it's touched them somehow. In running a workshop for people with dementia, the first thing people always say to me is, "Oh, that must be funny. You can tell them the same joke every time. Ha, ha, ha." And I go, "No, that would be cruel. They're not goldfish." They're people. Now, I'm not actually performing comedy for people with dementia. What I'm doing is using a lot of techniques I use when I teach comedy, and getting people with dementia to perform comedy for each other. So I'm getting people to participate. I didn't mean to do this. This is an accident, by the way. Just letting you know. I had no intention of creating something I call stand-up for dementia. But I've been teaching comedy for quite a long time, probably about 15 years. I've been performing as a comic for about, 25 years. It took me a long time to get average. I'm just getting good now. Persistence is very important. But part of when you teach, comedy is, people often look at comedy because it looks like I'm not doing anything, and I'm not. It's an illusion, but it can be taught. You can teach people the basic tenets of how to perform comedy. You can't teach anyone to be funny. Because it's too much for that girl. She said, "I've got to go. I'm not funny. I'm having to leave." No, it's okay. No, you can teach people how to actually perform, because it's a basic thing. I'll just tell you this before I tell you the rest. Is that usually? Oh, that's the bad one. Thanks, Jeffrey. Jeffrey's sabotaging me. No, here we go. I actually realised, Jeffrey, I might have actually indulged in a bit of a social entrepreneur project myself. Now, this is what's called the setup, and that's the punchline. That's all comedy is, right? Setup, punch. That's all. Your setup is the bit where you give the information about things. The punchline is the funny bit where I deliver that boom, boom line. So what happens is, in the setup here, that's the serious bit, right? That's the serious bit. And the punchline is the funny bit. Now, basically, whenever you do something where you're forced to come up with an idea about how you're going to make something funny, and you say, "Tell me something," people stand there the whole time trying to think, what's funny, what's funny, what's funny? So they think this way first. They think of the funny first. And what happens is you can't think backwards like that. It's a non-linear way. You can't think of a punchline and then go back to the serious bit. The serious bit is where all the comedy is. The serious bit is how you feel about things. It's about life. You have to be real and ordinary and have problems and make mistakes. And I can tell you all do. And when you actually get in touch with that everydayness and you actually start looking at that, the punchlines just turn up. It just appears. They just come because you basically did this process. So that's basically the fundamental thing I teach. I teach it over a lot longer time. That's a very simplified version. Daniel will attest to that. He's done it. So what happens actually with people working with people with dementia is the same thing. It was really trying to find this subject here. Of how I was actually going to do it, of how I was going to make it work. I started teaching, because I do a lot of other things, I thought, how do you work with a group of people who have no memory, who don't have a sense of the past, who don't have a sense of the future, in the sense of projecting what's going to happen when I leave here? And as a teacher and a facilitator, you tend to have your bag of tricks. And I had it and I had it all worked out, but nothing quite prepared me for the fact that the bag of tricks just wasn't going to work. So I'd been doing workshops for older people called Shooting from My Hip Replacement. And they were going over a gas. They were fantastic. People loved them because it was all about getting older people. And I say, and older people, they have got comedy. Everyone, I believe, has a 5-minute routine in them because it's all about getting in touch with your authentic self, about who you are and bringing it out on stage. I want to know what a winner you are. I don't want to know about your triumphs. I don't care that you're a success. That won't make me like you. That will make me think you're a pain in the butt, right? Where I connect, where I have a heartfelt thing with your humanness is your humanness. It's your ordinariness. It's your mistakes. It's what's wrong with you. I don't get better. That's what I say. Stay a little bit sick. Stay just a tiny bit, in the pain, in that lovely wash of humanity. And in a sense, that's what you're looking for all the time. So, when you're working with seniors particularly, have so much to offer. So, because if you've lived 70 years and you don't have a 5-minute routine, then chances are that wasn't much of a life. So everyone, usually you can't get them off stage because they have an hour or 2 hours in them. So it's like, shut up, go on, close it up. So after doing a number of these workshops, I was approached by some people from Department of Communities, or I can never remember the acronyms, DHCH and CS and S and Y and CH and C. By the time I got the funding, they'd changed the acronym 3 times. And I thought, people have dementia that are actually being funded by these people. I don't know how they know who to phone. Because I clearly couldn't find where to send the invoice. But they asked me to run this project for carers of people with dementia. And I went, okay, yep. Because as I said before, never say no. Yep, sure, yep, I can do it. Okay, I got off the phone. I went, I've got no idea how I'm going to do this, but I'll just turn up and see how we go a little bit. And I think it's a really good strategy. That's my strategy. Say yes to everything and then make it up when you get there. Really great. No one will know. So I get there, and originally in my early 20s, I trained as a vocational teacher for adults with intellectual disabilities. So I learned, luckily, a lot of very sort of training techniques of how to teach people that needed fairly high support needs. And part of that was I learned that, there's a thing called normalisation and about treating people appropriately. So I didn't see how I could run a workshop for people who are carers of people with dementia and getting them to share their experiences while people with dementia were sitting in the room. It just seemed like that would be horrible because they'd have to talk about the people with dementia and how irritating they were. And, I'm a nasty comic, but I don't go that far. And I thought, no, I think I have to work with the people with dementia. So I got the carers to set up the back. And then I got the people with dementia, and I thought, okay, they must have made a mistake. They must want me to work with the dementia people. So I started doing, okay, tell me something you hate. Then Mavis would look at Beryl and she'd go, I don't know, I don't hate anything. I'm like, God. And this went on for 3 weeks. I could get nothing. I go, these people must be insane at this department getting me to work with people with dementia. Because they're not giving me nothing. I'm saying, well, what would you like to do? How about, what's a movie you love? I don't remember ever seeing a movie. Oh. In the end, they were looking at me with pity, going, come on. I tried, you just try everything. I thought, oh, no, I'll do it now. And I ended up saying, we'll do collaging. I had them doing collages, little sticking things out of magazines. And I went, oh, this is deteriorating to absolute shit. And I was, I was feeling really bad because it felt really inappropriate. And, there is a commitment to make sure that people of a certain age are given appropriate activities that aren't demeaning to their humanity. And I felt through my struggling that I was, losing it a bit. As a facilitator, the one thing also that you want to do is you want to win. You want to come out knowing that you've done well, and you want to stick to your bag of tricks. After 10 or 12 years of teaching, I can do it with my eyes closed. I know how to teach. I was not going off my script. I would not go off my script. I tried every exercise. I tryingly twinged it. Nothing worked. Nothing worked at all. Then one day I had those moments in pure desperation after a really bad collaging section. And as you do. And I just went, all they have is the moment. Now. All they have is the now. It was like a lesson to me at the time. I went, now, that's all there is. I can only work in the now. So I said to one of the chaps, I said, Len, come up here, mate, come up here. you're a doctor, Reg has just come to see you, I think he's got leg cancer. And within 2 minutes, Leonard decided to amputate. And I would have got another opinion myself. And then suddenly it twigged. I went, wow, if I can come up with a series of role plays, if I can actually give people the cues, if I can actually provide ideas on the spot and actually work a little bit with their stories that are given by the carers, then we can go somewhere, because all I'm doing is propelling them into something they already know. They're people with dementia. They've been improvising for a very long time. It's what you do when you have dementia to get through your day. You just respond to the stimulus in your environment because you don't really know what's happening. Okay, so in a situation we started improvising, it was remarkable. It was like one of those awakenings moments where you went, my God, people are actually doing these amazing things. They're it started off with only people could do 30 seconds. They'd do stuff together. And take it, these are people that didn't talk to each other at lunchtime, because often it's difficult to have a conversation when you've lost your script, in a sense, in your life of where you've come from and where you're going. So often lunchtime is a very quiet time with the same repeated conversations. So suddenly you put people in a situation where you'll make up some sort of bogus scenario, like a doctor's appointment or a job interview or something from their past, give them a role and a scenario and say, go, and then they start reacting, and suddenly people started talking to each other and having fun and making rude sexual innuendo jokes that carers' eyes were bugging out. I can't believe she just said that. So I went, wacko, this is exciting. I went to a costume shop, got heaps of costumes, got Zorro outfits, got the whole lot. And then every week, and it was amazing how, because, in a sense, I would turn up, and there was a sense that people knew after a while of the pattern that I was what I was there for and what was going to happen. So I was learning on the spot. I'd thrown everything out. I started developing other techniques as well, working in with the notion of what you need to develop in the moment. I've also had, in the last year, a study which is about to come about because nothing really, most humour therapy done with people with dementia is what you call passive therapy, where people will watch a funny movie or they'll have a clown doctor or something perform for them. This is probably one of the few, we couldn't find any others when we did the study, active engagement projects where people are actually engaging. Often people are very frail, so we'll have to, it'll take me 10 minutes to get someone just out of a chair to sit and to be in the centre of it, and they'll say, no, no, no. Oh, no, you don't mean that? No, no, no. And then they're there, and remarkably good. I'd even say that people with dementia are better at improvising than people without dementia. Much, much better. It has surprised me, how well it's gone, and I'm now up to about the 5th or 6th project. I run them over 8 weeks. We do a couple of hours each week, and I end in a performance. I think a performance is a very important thing. Not an open performance for a paid crowd, but for carers and family, because I think it's very important for people with dementia's carers and family to see that their family members and the people they care for in a way that they don't usually see them. Because, sometimes quite extraordinary things would happen and people would behave in a way that wasn't expected. One of the workers came up to me and said, how did you get her doing that? Didn't you know that, people can't follow 4 instructions at once? But I said, I don't know anything about dementia, actually. And I'm not going to read anything, because if I actually read something about it, I'll start making assumptions about what they can and can't do, and then I won't put them in these situations where they can experience competency. And I do know a little bit, but I'm really a great believer in learning from the people that you're with, not just looking to a book and making an assumption that someone fits a category. And then that way you allow people to achieve what I think are remarkable moments of magic. Some of the feedback that I've got from people from this is purely accidental. Suddenly it works, and I went, I can't believe this is working. It's very bizarre. And now what I'm trying to do is a little bit like what Jeffrey was talking about, is I'm creating a program so I can teach other facilitators. It's not good enough if I'm the only person. If there's going to be 300,000 of you dementing, and just me, I'm going to be very tired. Because I can only do groups of 10 to 15 at once. You'll have high support needs sometimes. You'll want to go home. Sometimes you'll worry about your handbag. And it'll be very hard work if I've got to do 300,000 of you in 1 week. So I would like to have other facilitators. So that's the idea, to create these ideas. I'd just like to read you a little bit from the study that's coming out in the Australian Dementia Journal. It's very scientific. I can't believe it. Oh, I've actually done something scientific. It says things. This is from some of the carers. One says, yes, Harold H., oh God, I almost said his name, there goes the confidentiality clause, has been going for over 18 months as his to respite, and I get frustrated because he gets home and he's tired. He can't remember anything he's done normally. He doesn't say anything. He just goes to bed straight away. The last few weeks he's been saying, funny, funny. I didn't know what he was talking about until I saw the performance last week, and it was hysterical. It was the first time he'd ever said anything about what he'd been doing at respite, which was, I had no idea that, obviously it was working. There was another one by this one particular lady who was extraordinary. She was a very quiet person, and when she came on stage, she came alive and said the most outrageous things. Her carer said she grumbled whenever it was time to go to respite, thinking she was going to get preached at by priests because the program was held in a church hall, I suppose. After a few weeks of doing the comedy workshops, she would get excited about going, and I'd ask her why, and she'd say, dress-ups, we dress up. And she was fantastic. And finally, I'd just like to share one last response, which is the one that I found probably the most moving out of this particular group I'd work with. This lady didn't come till about week 3 or week 4. Her carer, who was her husband, was really worried that a comedy workshop would be really inappropriate, and that it would be making fun of her illness, and that it would be demeaning and belittling for her. He finally, for some reason, allowed her to come. And when he came to the performance, this is the response that he had. He said, I had wrapped her in cotton wool, trying to protect her from being made a fool of. When I saw her interacting with her peers, laughing and joking, I realised that there was not the right thing. It was the best she'd been for years. She was my wife again. I can't speak highly enough of what I saw. The program should be everywhere and run all the time. I'd want her to do this again, and I know that she would too. It was a bittersweet experience seeing my wife being and doing normal things. She was so happy, but it made me realise how bad dementia was, and it showed for a moment the person I'd lost. So, isn't that beautiful? I cried when I read that. So in a sense, what I'm talking about, and I think I'm still very much in the formative stages of the work that I'm doing at the moment, and I've never been so deeply touched by the power, it always makes me have a little cry, deeply touched the power of humour to change people's lives and to connect and to touch that authentic person that lives there. And even with dementia, it is such a quick pathway in. And I really do believe, truly and honestly, after 25 years of living as a comic, and now after working and using comedy with people with dementia, I've found that laughter really is the best medicine. So thank you.